Greetings, Gilliam the Rogue here, back once again with a brief and basic, this time for the Magicka Sorcerer. We'll be doing two videos for the Mag Sorc, one about pets and one for non-pets. I do want to give a big disclaimer that I am personally not a big Sorcerer fan. I find the rotation to be very clunky. I play a little bit too quick, so I get a lot of mistakes, so the DPS that we're going to see is not going to be representative of someone who's comfortable with the class, who plays a little bit slower, is used to a much easier, more digestible rotation. I come from Magicka Nightblade, where you are literally spamming buttons like mad. Mag Sorc is a much slower pace, and it messes with my mental. So again, don't take this as the end-all be-all DPS that you're going to see, but I do want to kind of describe and help you guys ease into the Magicka Sorcerer rotation. Again, Pet Sorc is going to be incredibly easy. We don't even have a spammable. We're going to be doing a lot of heavy attacking. Sustain is fantastic. You don't have to run anything. It's incredibly survivable. In some instances, you're not going to be able to play this build, though, mainly with lots of one-shot mechanics like the twins in Mauve Lorcage, or Rakat even sometimes, the World Shaper in Sanctum Ophidia. There are a lot of fights that don't really allow pets, or they might even allow them, but they might just be a little too derpy to do something. They might get hitched on ads or something of the sort. So if you don't want to be managing that, then keep an eye out for the other ones. So with this build, the only buff that we're going to be managing is Elemental Drain on the target dummy. In a raid environment or a group environment, this will be provided by a healer, and this will be a damage shield, so you don't even have to worry about that. It's going to be even easier in group performance. Again, as I said earlier, sustain for the Pet Sorc is not a problem at all, which is a little bit the opposite of the non-Pet Sorc. The non-Pet Sorc struggles tremendously with sustain. This build has no problem at all. So what we're going to be doing with this is, again, we're going to be managing Elemental Drain and then Daedric Prey as well. This is not a buff per se. It buffs your pets, but it also does nice damage. We want to try and keep this up as much as possible because a lot of our damage comes from pets. We're running Volatile Familiar, Twilight, Tormentor, and the Atronach. As I mentioned earlier, we do not have a spammable with this build. If you really want to and you find this a bit too boring, you can drop Inner Light and run something else. If you want healing, you can also put Power Surge here. You have flexibility between Inner Light and Bound Aegis. Now, they do offer a lot of damage and mitigation and just passives in general, so you might not want to take that, but if you're not looking to optimize, you have 4 empty bar spots in terms of what you can put on here. So again, we're just going to be managing the Ellie Drain and Daedric Prey, and then in terms of dots, we're managing Volatile Familiar the entire time. He's an 8-second dot. Twilight Tormentor is a buff for 15 seconds, sort of, but it only works on enemies above 50% health, and then we're going to have Blockade and Liquid Lightning, and we're just going to be heavy attacking in between. So we're going to drink a potion. We don't have to let this one run down because we're not going to be worried about sustain, but we do want to start with an ultimate. So we're going to start by putting the Drain, and then we're just going to go into our buffs. It's very dynamic in terms of what we're doing, but you can kind of keep it easy. Try and only cast your pets on your front bar, though, because you want to stay there as long as possible. Alright, so now we're just going to go in, we're going to drop all of our back bar dots, we're going to immediately put on that Daedric Prey, and now we're just going to sit here and do some heavy attacks until we need to reapply an ability. So there will be some bar swapping in between this. Again, it will be a lot easier. You don't necessarily have to play at the pace that I am representing here. You can play it a lot slower if you are used to it. The Pet Sorc works really, really well for players who are not accustomed to crazy Twitch-based reactions. You're going to be able to do a lot of good DPS, or at least respectable DPS, by just kind of taking it slow, going easy, and just kind of managing your buffs as you see them. I do still recommend using a buff tracker such as Srendar or Foundry Tactical Combat or the in-game buff trackers. And if you're on console and you don't have access to a ground dot timer like this, kind of use Daedric Prey as your timer, or you can use your Familiar Pulse as a timer as well, because the Familiar Pulse is on an 8-second timer, so you can kind of line that up in tandem with your Boundless Storm, or not Boundless Storm, but your Blockade, because that's going to have an 8-second duration as well. And then you can generally cast Liquid Lightning right after that, and you'll be totally fine. But here, again, we're kind of just going through the order. I'm already explaining kind of the thought process of if you're a player who isn't looking for a fast pace. I'm kind of not managing my buffs perfectly because I'm talking too much, and I'm not very accustomed to the Magicka Sorcerer. It's my least played class. I don't enjoy it. So again, our DPS doesn't look that great, but at the same time, we're pulling 37k by doing a really, really easy to do rotation. We're not doing anything crazy. We have over 70% of our Magicka all the time. It's really, really nice. It's not going to be difficult, and anyone can do this sort of thing. And you can only get better at it. So if you are a bit slower and you're not comfortable, you're like, I don't want to be able to just do this. It is the easiest class to pick up, but it's also the easiest class to learn with. You can there's a lot of progression to go through with this. The quicker you kind of learn to manage abilities and so on. So again, this is a really good beginner-friendly build. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with it. There's flexibility with your bar spots and everything. So even though we're going to enter execute, we are not going to change up our rotation. You can run an execute if you want. However, I usually don't suggest doing so because there's no real point to doing it. You're not going to get a huge amount of DPS because the Magicka Sorcerer execute only starts at 20% instead of like 25 or 30% for other things. So we're able to hit 37k. Again, do not take this as the end all be all. I've hit 40k with the build when I'm actually paying attention and I'm not bumbling and being a complete idiot and not managing my dots perfectly. But for the fact that I didn't manage everything really, really well, and Daedric Prey was only 81% instead of like 90%, my Blockade could have been up a lot better, my Liquid Lightning could have been up better, we could push out a lot more damage with this build. So again, this was the Pet Sorc. You can do a lot of different stuff with it. Don't take this as the end-all be-all, but I hope this gave you kind of an idea of how to address combat with the Magicka Sorcerer in Somerset. Not too much has changed, but again, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.